All right, in our 1920s unit, we again use visuals to hit some of the key topics from our 1920s Coke list. And so I'm going to split these up for the purposes of those of you at home into three or four different categories. I will tell you that there is a visual for both jazz and the Harlem Renaissance, and there is a larger presentation dealing with both of those. So I'm not going to do those slides individually, but I've tried to divide the remaining slides up into a couple of different categories that hopefully will help them connect and make sense. The first one we're going to look at is the economics of the 1920s. And so coming out of World War One, the United States is in a great position worldwide. We had none of the devastation that Europe had during World War One. We are coming into our own as an industrial power, and so there's a lot of money flowing in the United States. The rest of the world is going to go into a post-World War One depression, but we are going to have a decade called the Roaring Twenties, when our economy is booming right up until it's not. And so what we're going to look at are some of the economic factors at play here. This first visual we've got is an ad from a Sears and Roebuck catalog, and this for us is going to represent consumer credit. Consumer credit, just like we have credit today, you have credit cards, right, that you pay, and then if you can't pay off the credit card by the end of the month, then you pay a little bit of interest on the money that you have borrowed from the credit card company. Here, they didn't have credit cards in the 20s, but stores would extend credit to individuals. And so what you would do is a lot of times you might get something like this stove that we're seeing here from a store in town. And then every week, somebody from that store would actually come and collect a little bit of money from you until you had paid off the stove. Now, this stove, you can see here, you get for the low price of $13.95. If you bought something like that on credit, you are going to pay a little bit of interest, so maybe you pay $17 or $18 for the stove. The advantage for you is you get the stove earlier. You're able to begin using it. The advantage for the retailer is they get the interest payments. And so there was an awful lot of buying on credit that was going on in the 1920s. And that's okay as long as you've got the money to come in to make the payments. Well, we know that the Roaring Twenties are followed by the Great Depression. And so all this stuff that people are buying that they can't pay off, if you can't pay for it, it will be repossessed. The problem is when it's repossessed, it's not worth as much as it was new. So the store doesn't want to repossess it, but in the end, they've got no choice. They end up with a lot of product that they can't sell, and it's easy to see how that economic system collapses with those factors happening. Still, consumer credit allowed people to enjoy some of these new innovations we see in the 1920s. The radio, early washing machines, new stoves, things like that, but get them a little sooner, perhaps, than they would have been able to with savings. Now, you see this, I told you it comes out of a Sears and Roebuck catalog. Sears and Roebuck, today, Sears is a department store. Was much bigger department store. You go back 20 or 30 years. Back then, they had a catalog, and you could order basically anything out of a Sears and Roebuck catalog. There were actual house kits that you could order, and they would deliver the lumber and everything you needed to build a house directly out of a Sears and Roebuck catalog. So that would have been a big deal for folks back then. The next one we've got here are retail chain stores. Now, chain stores are stores that have the same store in different locations around the country. And so just like we have a Walmart here in Scottsburg, and they have a Walmart in Salem, and there's a Walmart in Clarksville, that is a chain store. Now, Walmart didn't exist in the 1920s, but there's some things you may have heard of that did. Ace Hardware was an early chain store. It's actually a chain store where you could buy chain, so that's kind of neat. The Piggly Wiggly was an early grocery store. If you've ever been down in some of the southern states, that's a big grocery store in like Alabama. And so you had these different things. Well, chain stores have really a couple of advantages. One, because they're supplying multiple stores, they can go to manufacturers and get better prices on their goods. So let's say I have an electronics store here in town and I want to sell Blu-ray players. Well, if I go and I think I can sell 5 Blu-ray players a month and I buy that from the Blu-ray manufacturer, they'll give me a certain price. Well, Walmart goes though, and it's thousands of locations across the country, they want to buy 15,000 Blu-ray players a month. They're going to get a better price from the manufacturer. Because they get a better price from the manufacturer, they can undersell me, pass those savings along to the people shopping. And so that's why it's a little easier for chain stores to make things work. Chain stores also give a sense of familiarity to the buyer. And so, you can walk in a Walmart anywhere in the country, right? And in a couple of seconds, you're going to have your bearings and you're going to know where you need to go for certain items. You know that there are certain brands and items that they'll carry regardless of the store. And so there are some advantages for the consumer as well. So we start to see these pop up around the country. And again, this is one of those things that's going to kind of unite us in a common culture. It's not just the music or the movies that we're seeing. Now all of a sudden, you could purchase clothes or certain items. You have brands that become national brands that are going to be sold in these retail and chain stores. And so again, it's just kind of one of those things shrinking our world a little bit and giving us as Americans more in common. The next one we've got is kind of a bleak farm landscape. This represents the farm crisis of the 1920s. The farm crisis, really the one part of our economy that doesn't have a booming 1920s is our agricultural community. And the reason is they actually had their boom during World War I. When that conflict starts in 1914, an awful lot of young men who would be in the fields are called to war. An awful lot of the fields they would be using to grow things become battlefields. And so as Europe becomes desperate for food, the United States is able to fill those needs. And so farmers see a huge increase in agricultural prices, basically to the point where a lot of them are encouraged enough that they go out and they will make purchases of land or equipment like tractors in order to increase their productivity. It seems like almost anything they can grow, they can sell for prices that they had never seen before. And that's going to continue through World War I. Problem for those folks is World War I ends. Worked out really well for everybody else, but for these farmers who, a lot of them, maybe had borrowed money to make these investments, now all of a sudden there's not as much demand for their crops. And since there's not as much demand for the crops, the price on those commodities will go down. And so as the price goes down, it's hard to make those payments that you had made. And so it starts or it creates what's known as the farm crisis, that you've got these farmers who have leveraged themselves to a point where they're not able to make enough money to keep the family farm. What we're going to see as the 20s progress into the 30s is, especially in kind of the breadbasket of America region, an increasing number of companies, corporate farms, that will buy up these small family farms that had been there for 75 or 80 years, and then will use equipment and expertise to farm those, but as a company, not necessarily just kind of the mom and pop operation we think of when we think of farms like that today. So the individual farmer really doesn't have a 1920s. They end up really booming during World War I, but like I said, ultimately that falls apart once the war ends. The 1920s officially come to a close October 29th of 1929. That is known as Black Tuesday. Black Tuesday is the largest single drop in the stock market up until that point. This is the event that sets off the Great Depression. It's going to set off a panic on Wall Street. People are going to be selling stock all over the country. and almost overnight, a lot of the wealth that had kept the 1920s thriving is gone. Now let's talk for a second about stocks. What you're seeing here, this picture is of the New York Stock Exchange. Much of this work is done digitally today, but there's still that balcony there. There's still a person who will come usually. Celebrities you'll see every once in a while get to open the stock exchange, so they'll ring a bell that's there. But a stock is basically a small piece of a company, right? If you own stock in a company, you own part of that company. The more stock you own, the more of that company you own. And so companies will sell stock in order to get money to, buy new equipment or reinvest in R&D, things like that. And so people would buy stock in companies. Well, in the 1920s, the stock market booms. It goes crazy. And people become convinced that this is an easy way to get wealthy. And there's nothing we like better here in the United States than an easy way to make money. The problem is everything works out as long as the stock is going up. But stock doesn't just have to go up. It can go down. And so when the stock market crashes, an awful lot of people are going to lose their savings, their sources of income. Some of them had even done what was called buying on margin. And buying on margin was borrowing money to buy stock. The banks, unfortunately at this time, used the stock as collateral, which basically meant that if you couldn't make your payments, they'd take the stock back. But when the stock market crashes, that stock's worthless. So not only is the individual out of money, the bank has made a bad investment too. And so when as the Great Depression hits, we see a lot of banks collapse because they've made a lot of poor choices in loans that they ended up making. Well, once the banking system's gone, then one of the fundamental pieces of the economy is broken. And we'll see in our next unit, as we talk about the Great Depression, what steps have to be taken in order to bring us out of that. But that is the stock market crash. Like I said, October 29th, 1929, it's known as Black Tuesday. And this is looked at as being the end of the 1920s and the beginning of the Great Depression. And we'll talk some more about this day as we start to talk about the Great Depression, but just to give you an idea of where this is going.